but he bogeyed 18, so he finds himself tied for 4th at 6 under with a 66, 1 shot back of the leaders. His odds falling round 1, plus 250, because you see he's part of that chase pack, and he's pretty lethal. Doc Redman, Scott Stallings, and Kevin Kisner tied for 1st at 7 under par. If you're like, hey, Doc Redman, I remember that name. I heard that on Wednesday on CBS Sports HQ. Well, you're right. That was Rick Gehman's sleeper to win this tournament. Right now, looking pretty good. Speaking of, welcome to 2 of the 4 voices that make up the First Cut podcast. CBS Sports golf analyst Kyle Porter and Sportsline data scientist Rick Gehman. Hello, friends. The favorite to win this tournament coming into Thursday was Bryson DeChambeau, who's on a streak of 6 consecutive top 10s. Cards a 6 under 66 in round 1. Had a chance to save par in 18. Drove the green a little too far off the back there. Missed the putt, settled for bogey, 1 shot off the lead. But he had a strong back 9, Kyle. 4 birdies and eagle before that bogey on 18. What did you see from Bryson in the opening round?
Yeah, I shot a 31 on the back 9 after just shooting a 1 under 35 on the front. And, I mean, the thing that really stood out, Hakeem, is just the driver on the back 9. I mean, he gained almost 2 strokes on the field on just 7 drives on the back 9. That's a preposterous number. That's an impossible number. And yet he did it. He averaged 345 off the tee on the back 9. And when you do that, you get these really short wedge shots, and when the wedge is working from this distance, you see right here, I think we showed this earlier, this is after a 354-yard drive, golf looks so easy. You've got these little 18-inch putts for birdie. It's a very easy game. So not only that, you know, you look at some of the numbers, Bryson finished 1st in the field in putting as well. So when he's going 1st or 2nd in driving, 1st in putting, he's going to be unbeatable for the week, which is why you see his odds get a little bit shorter at plus 250 after round 1. So he's playing lights out. He hasn't putted all that well since the restart. Still has those 3 top 10s in that time span. If he finds a really hot putter this week, that's going to be a wrap in Detroit.
Yeah, one of my big takeaways was those odds that Kyle is alluding to. Now 2.5 to 1 to win this golf tournament, and he should be, right? When you're 1st in the field in strokes gained off the tee, when you're 1st in the field in strokes gained putting, I don't have to be a rocket scientist to tell you that that is a pretty good combination, pretty lethal. It doesn't really matter what else you do in your round. It's going to be a good one. But even after the round, you know, these Bryson post-round interviews they have so many little great nuggets in there. And he mentioned that he, again, thought he left some shots out there. He mentioned those half shots, those 80-yard wedges, those kind of flip wedges when you drive your ball 365 yards that you're kind of left in between. You know, that's what we saw when Dustin Johnson really elevated to the next level to become the #1 player in the world. It was not because he was bombing it and hitting it further. It's because he figured out what to do after he got out into the fairway 320 yards. He learned how to hit his wedges. If we see that from Bryson, it's going to be absolutely insane.
7 protein shakes per day, which is incredible. Look, I wish that I could eat that and play professional golf. And I'm sure some people out there going, hey, I'll eat 7 protein shakes, some bacon, some eggs, bunch of toast for breakfast, and maybe I can go hammer it 300 yards. I mean, that a lot of people think they can hit the ball 300 yards. I don't think that people realize how difficult it is to do what Bryson DeChambeau is doing right now. And Rick, we've talked about this before, and Kyle as well. These incremental changes, they're going to be worth it if he can consistently win here on tour.
If I had 7 protein shakes a day, you'd physically have to roll me around the golf course. It would be impossible for me to walk. But it's a game of, you know, the PGA Tour is not necessarily a game of inches. It is so fractionally and razor thin, the difference between the best golfers in the world. You know, we talk about it all the time. A half a shot of a difference in your scoring average is like the difference between a top 25 player and a guy who doesn't even have his tour card the next year. So when you're talking about incremental changes, what Bryson is trying to do by adding a few extra yards, although he's added more than a few, you know, be a little bit better in all aspects, that adds up to a lot more money, hopefully a lot more wins for him. And kind of in the same way Cam Newton, you know, it's not about the money, it's about the respect. I think Bryson wants to prove what he's doing is correct.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about this on the First Cut podcast earlier this week, but I think we're sort of, I mean, the jokes are easy, the memes, whatever, but we're losing sight of the fact that somebody in their profession said, you know what, I'm going to go gain 40 pounds, and I don't care about my image. I don't care about what people think about it. I don't care about any of this. I just want to be the best player in the world, and this is how I'm going to do it. And that's maybe a crazy way to think. I don't know if I would do that to get like 1 or 2% better at my job. Maybe Rick would, maybe you would, Hakeem, but I think the dedication to that, whether you view it as insane or respectable or whatever, Bryson's definitely all in on it. And I think you have to look at that and say, wow, this could be a real thing in the long term, to where Bryson does become the #1 player in the world, or does become a consistent top 3 player in the world. I think he's the best player in the world right now. He's nearly leading this tournament, and I think that's why you see the odds makers have him at such a big time favorite going into the second round.
I respect how devoted he is to this. The diet, the way that he's laying this out each and every day to make sure that he's hitting everything correctly. What he's putting into his body is going to help him be better on tour, better in the drive, better on drives, whatever it is. And I think it's fun to see, because it's one of these storylines that we can all kind of relate to, right? I mean, people hitting golf balls left and right. Hey, okay, whatever, I'm just going to go out and eat whatever I can. But he's doing it with a purpose, and I think that's what's so impressive right now as we watch Bryson DeChambeau work his way up to top of the leaderboard again. He's on this streak of top 10s, which is incredible. And he's 1 shot off the lead. 3 guys in a 3-way tie for first. One of them, Doc Redman, finished second in this tournament last year, and he was Rick Gehman's sleeper pick to win this weekend. Rick, Doc Redman making look smart after round 1.
So far, so good. Bryson's there lurking. Rickie Fowler's lurking. Webb Simpson's lurking. But yeah, so far, so good for the Doc, who statistically is really what the key metric that we were looking at coming into this week was. And it's all about strokes gained tee to green. One of the best ball strikers since the tour has restarted. And when you can strike the ball well, when you put yourself in a position to make a lot of putts, you do. You can see those 7 birdies on the back 9 from Doc Redman, obviously getting back to Detroit Golf Club, which is where he's had his best professional finish, that second place last year here at the Rocket Mortgage. So yeah, Doc Redman, I'll tell you what, this is no fluke. If he continues these strokes gained tee to green numbers, you're going to see his name at the top of the leaderboard or on the first page of the leaderboard a lot.
I don't know if this is statistically wise to do, but I love guys that are kind of trending in the right direction. So Doc finished at like T50 the first week back. Then it was T30. Last week he was right outside the top 10. So it's almost like he's moving into this phase where he's going to contend to win a golf tournament. And you combine that with the fact that this is a lesser field. It's not quite as jam-packed with stars and superstars as we saw the first 3 weeks. I don't think it's super surprising that Doc Redman is contending. He's been really solid since the tour came back, making all 3 of those cuts and really playing well, or fairly well, amid those really stacked fields. So he was really good on Thursday. Obviously, he played the back 9 first, shot 30 over there, even after making bogey on the first hole. So I don't think this is not a case in which you look at it and say, is there staying power there? Can he stay up there? I think he can stay up there, and I think he will stay up there throughout the weekend.
7 birdies on his final 8 holes, looking for his first career PGA Tour win in his 31st start. Biggest surprise from round 1 was who? Kyle, I'll start with you.
Well, the biggest surprise in terms of a disappointment was Scotty Scheffler, who shot 79. But we'll go more positive. I actually think Rickie Fowler was a little bit of a surprise for me. He shoots 67, 5 under, a couple off the lead. It went a little under the radar because he played in the morning, made a double bogey on 18. But other than that, he had a clean card. He had 7 birdies. He talked about how having 7 birdies in any round is monumental, is a big deal. He has not been playing all that great so far in 2020. But his performance on Thursday was encouraging. He's been pretty bad off the tee, at least for him, throughout this season. He's been very mediocre with his iron play. He was good in both areas on Thursday. And he's another guy. His odds dropped from like 33-1 to 18-1. I'm actually surprised they're not a little bit shorter than that, just because of his name, because of his star power, and because he's somebody who's obviously contended to win a lot of events. I think he... the consistency hasn't been there, but I think he's somebody to watch out for going into Friday.
I look at someone like Kirk, who went out and shot a 67 on Thursday, 5 under par. And you remember, Chris Kirk, it's a name we've heard a lot, but he battled some demons last year. He took some time off. He told us that he was dealing with alcohol abuse issues and depression, and he took time away from the game to get right. And he's been coming back and he's been playing more often. Now, he just won on the Korn Ferry Tour 2 weeks ago, and now he's popping up, right near the first page of the leaderboard here this week at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. To me, obviously, not only a great story, not only a comeback story, it's one of redemption. It's one that we all can root for in Chris Kirk. So fingers crossed that he can keep it going for 3 more days.
Yeah, looking for his 5th career PGA Tour victory, first since winning at the Colonial in 2015. All right, let's talk about what we're watching for in round 2. Kyle, back to you.
Well, I want to see if Bryson can hit 200 miles an hour on the ball speed. I think Bryson is the story of Friday morning. Rick and I will be up early watching the action from the Rocket Mortgage Classic. And, Bryson is somebody who it just, even as you're doing the highlights there, Hakeem, it's like it happens so quickly. I know everything's cut down during the highlight, but that's what it felt like as you're watching in the afternoon. It's like you look up again, another Bryson birdie, another Bryson birdie. He's got so much firepower, not just off the tee, which is obvious, but with his ability to score and his ability to race out in front. I think this is obviously his tournament to lose after round 1, and I want to see if he can jump out and maybe put a little distance between him and the field in round 2.
I'm looking at 2 things, the course and the field. So Detroit Golf Club, it is one of the flattest. It is actually the flattest golf course on the PGA Tour. There's no elevation changes out there. Played 2 strokes under par on average today. Very easy. Remember, this is where Nate Lashley went out and shot 25 under par last year to go wire to wire, and we thought we were going to see a little more bite this time around. So far, we haven't seen it. We'll be interested to see how Detroit Golf Club responds. But then the field. Kyle alluded to this earlier. This is not a star-packed field. This is a field where probably 100 different guys are licking their chops as an opportunity to either secure their card, to make a big impact on their career and their personal lives. They feel like this week might be gettable for them because we don't have 9 of the top 10 players in the world. So I think you're going to see a lot of hungry dogs out there, and I cannot wait to see how it goes.
Speaking of hungry dogs, Bryson DeChambeau is having himself another protein shake right now. Good for him, because I love it. More protein shakes, the merrier. Kyle Porter, Rick Game, appreciate the insight here on CBS Sports HQ. And for more awesome golf content, you got to check them out on the First Cut podcast. All right, here's a look at the featured Group T times for round 2. Of course, we'll have live look-ins, highlights, and analysis. Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, Hideki Matsuyama, teeing off 7:45 a.m. Eastern time on 10. Webb Simpson and last year's winning Nate Lashley, as well as Rickie Fowler going off at 1 Eastern time from the Rocket Mortgage Classic. And hey, you want much more golf content from Rick Gaiman and Kyle Porter and their pals, Greg Ducharme, Mark Immelman as well. 4 guys on the First Cut podcast. A lot of fun to be had, delivering the storylines that matter the most, tournament breakdowns, picks, and analysis. The First Cut podcast. Download and subscribe today.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.